Wait. Don't tell me Dems, media, Joe Biden are criticizing Donald Trump's response to the coronavirus as incompetent, if not racist.
It's been said over and over again that you cannot trust this president. Not only is he a liar, he does not believe in anything scientific. So the president of the United States cannot be relied upon. Someone said he needs to be quiet. He needs to shut his mouth. And he should do that and allow CDC and NIH and others to deal with this issue and to help us through it.
Waters said Trump should shut his mouth and let the experts handle it. You know the way the experts handled her hearing when she grilled the banking CEOs on their student loan debt, not realizing the banking CEOs were no longer in the business of providing student loans?
Thank you. Today there are more than 44 million Americans that owe, this is student loan crisis, $1.56 trillion in student loan debt. Last month, this committee received testimony that last year 1 million student loan borrowers defaulted, which is on top of the 1 million borrowers who defaulted the year before. What are you guys doing to help us with the student loan debt? Who would like to answer first? Mr. Monahan, Big Bank.
We stopped making student loans in 2007 or so.
Oh, so you don't do it anymore. Mr. Corbett?
We exited student lending in 2009.
Mr. Diamond?
When the government took over student lending in 2010 or so, we stopped doing all student lending.
Thank you. What about small business?
Yikes. Bet somebody got fired. Ever have one of those days where you really want to be somewhere else?
I love the way you've decorated in here.
Want to get away?
And then there was the expert Maxine Waters when she was threatening oil company executives or when she was trying to threaten them.
The $5 will look like a very low price in the years to come if we are prohibited from finding new reserves, new opportunities to increase supplies.
And guess what this liberal would be all about? This liberal will be all about socializing, would be about basically taking over and the government running all of your companies.
I think the word she was looking for was nationalized. But hey, she rubbed some dirt on it, got back in the game. Meanwhile, CNN's Jim Acosta has accused the president of xenophobia, if not racism. Why? Because the president referred to the coronavirus as a foreign virus.
The other thing, Chris, that I think we should point out, at one point during this address, the president referred to the coronavirus as a, quote, foreign virus. That I think was interesting because as I was talking to sources earlier this evening, one of the points that the president wanted to make tonight, wanted to get across to Americans, is that this virus did not start here, but that they're dealing with it. Now, why the president would go as far as to describe it as a foreign virus, that is something we'll also be asking questions about. But it should be pointed out that Stephen Miller, who is an immigration hardliner who advises the president, is one of his top domestic policy advisors and speechwriters, was a driving force in writing the speech. And I think it's going to it's going to come across to a lot of Americans as smacking of xenophobia, to use that kind of term in this speech, Chris.
It's xenophobic to call a foreign virus a foreign virus?
He's doing it to put blame somewhere else. We've seen over the last few days McCarthy and others saying the Chinese coronavirus, the Wuhan coronavirus. We get that.
Tying coronavirus to China and Chinese people isn't just a racist dog whistle. It's a whole racist orchestra. It's a mighty, mighty racist bass tone.
But wasn't the Zika virus named after a forest in Uganda? And wasn't the Ebola virus named after a river in the Democratic Republic of the Congo? But that dastardly Mitch McConnell and other Republicans refer to the virus as the Wuhan virus or the Chinese virus, and they are racist?
This is all happening at a time that we're starting to see a message shift here, because you're starting to hear the Republicans, especially Trump calling it the Wuhan or the Chinese coronavirus. They're looking for someone to blame.
Concern is growing this morning over an outbreak of a new SARS-like virus in China.
At least 6 people have died from the Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The 34-year-old ophthalmologist diagnosed Saturday with the Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan virus.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus. What more can you tell us about the similarities or differences between SARS and the Wuhan coronavirus?
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus in China.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus. From the Wuhan coronavirus.
Wuhan coronavirus.
Fears continue to grow over the outbreak of the Wuhan coronavirus.
Wuhan coronavirus?
The Wuhan coronavirus.
The Wuhan coronavirus.
We have new information about how the Wuhan coronavirus is spread.
I hear Stephen Miller in this foreign virus setting up travel bans for the outside invasion of the disease. That's not the way.
The Chinese coronavirus that they've been
that's
calling
not
the first U.S. case of Chinese coronavirus.
The Chinese coronavirus.
This is coming as the Chinese coronavirus.
China's coronavirus outbreak. China's coronavirus.
Outbreak anxiety. The death toll nearly doubles in China's coronavirus outbreak.
China's coronavirus.
Just how bad is China's coronavirus crisis?
China's coronavirus outbreak.
China's coronavirus outbreak.
China's coronavirus outbreak.
China's coronavirus.
China's coronavirus. China's coronavirus.
China's coronavirus.
Concerns about the China coronavirus.
Now, when Trump promptly shut down travel to China, Joe Biden referred to that as hysterical xenophobia.
This is no time for Donald Trump's record of hysterical xenophobia, and fear-mongering.
Biden accusing Trump of fear-mongering? Recall the advice Vice President Joe Biden gave the country regarding the swine flu virus.
If a member of your family came to you and said, look, I want to go on a commercial airliner to Mexico and back within the next week, would you think it's a good idea?
I would tell members of my family, and I have, I wouldn't go anywhere in confined places now. It's not that it's going to Mexico. It's you're in a confined aircraft. When one person sneezes, it goes all the way through the aircraft. That's me. I would not be at this point, if they had another way of transportation, suggesting they ride the subway.
But then...
Office of Vice President Joe Biden is backtracking from televised comments he made this morning on the swine flu outbreak. On NBC's Today Show, he said he was advising his own family to stay off airplanes and subways to avoid the illness. Biden went beyond any precautions recommended by the U.S. government, but his office has since issued a statement saying Biden was only speaking about air travel to Mexico. An American Airlines spokesman declined to comment directly on Biden's remarks, but said the suggestion people avoid air travel borders on fear-mongering.
My other question has to do with remarks that Vice President Biden made this morning on television. Representatives of the travel industry have accused the Vice President of coming close to fear-mongering because of his comments, and I'm wondering if you wanted to clarify or correct or apologize for the remarks that he made.
I think what the Vice President meant to say was the same thing that, again, many members have said in the last few days, what he said and what he meant to say.
With all due respect, and I sympathize with you trying to explain the Vice President's comments, but that's not even remotely close to what he said. He was asked about if a member of his family...
Jake, I understand what he said, and I'm telling you what he meant to say, which was that obviously if anybody was unduly alarmed for whatever reason, we would apologize for that.
As for Biden's criticism of Trump's prompt decision to shut down travel to China, here's what Dr. Anthony Fauci of the National Institutes of Health said.
Yeah, there's no question that if we had not done that in a timely way, there would have been many more travel-related cases from China. And as you know, the outbreak that we're having here in the country, this cases, originated from travel-related cases that came from China, and then we had the issue in Washington State and what we're seeing now in other states. So coming from outside within was the thing that started it. So I think doing that saved us a lot of concern and a lot of suffering, I think.
And then there's the criticism against Trump for allegedly cutting funding to the CDC.
There's nobody here to figure out what the hell we should be doing. And he's defunded Centers for Disease Control, CDC, so we don't have the organization we need. This is a very serious thing.
We increased the budget of the CDC. We increased the NIH budget. We should have our president today, and he's wiped all that out. We did it. We stopped it. And the second thing I'd point out to you is that what I would do immediately is restore the funding. He cut the funding for CDC. He tried to cut the funding for NIH. He cut the funding for the entire effort.
One slight problem. Spending for the CDC is actually up under Trump. Here's what factcheck.org said. The president has proposed cuts to the CDC in past budgets that Congress did not enact. It's misleading at best to claim Trump/funding when his proposals haven't taken effect. Congress passed and Trump signed a budget that increased CDC funding by $420 million. End of quote. As for Trump's decision to curtail travel to Europe, even Trump-hating New York Mayor Bill de Blasio said,
look, I accept the notion of travel bans in this environment. So I disagree with President Trump on many things, but I actually think the travel ban piece of his strategy has been, in many ways, warranted. It does not replace a proactive strategy by the United States of America to address our own issues because we have our own community spread now. And it does not forgive the fact that the basic supplies are not being organized by the federal government and the testing is not widespread. But the travel bans, I think, inherently make some sense. It will hurt every place that depends on tourism, business conferences. It will hurt our economy. It will hurt people's livelihoods. But I don't think it's wrong. I think it's necessary.
Forget about the media. Forget about Democrats. How do the American people feel about the way Donald Trump is handling the coronavirus? Here's what Gallup said. About 3 in 4 Americans say they are very or somewhat confident in the federal government's ability to handle an outbreak of the coronavirus. This is a higher level of confidence than Gallup has found for the government's handling of previous health scares. The combined 77% of Americans who are generally confident in the federal government's ability to handle a potential coronavirus tops the confidence that Americans had that it could handle the Zika virus, the Ebola virus, the H1N1 virus, and the bird flu at the time of those medical crises between 2005 and 2017. End of quote. Finally, is there something in the water these Democrats are drinking?
To understand the the spread of the virus.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
Is it November yet? I'm Larry Elder, and we've got a country to save. I'll see you next time.